Hello guys, today I decided to talk about water. It's a huge hypocrisy to talk about healthy lifestyle, healthy habits, healthy foods, raw veganism, all these plant-based things and la 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 la, and to not cover the main substance that forms us. I heard this beautiful saying that human is in essence as a vertical puddle. And I fully agree with that. It's a complete truth. We just have a little bit of proteins to combine all this puddle into some shaped form, but essentially we're just water. I actually measured my bone mass and it's above the norm, but it's still under 5 pounds. Bone mass. So our skeleton forms that consists of silica, some calcium, and collagen, some proteins. Even that one is so small. So, and our muscles are mainly water as well. Water with some glycogen. So, it is very important what you drink, and of course, you can probably get hydrated if you're on fully raw diet, you eat only greens and fruits, and you get your water in this beautiful distilled form, which contains and carries those vitamins and organic minerals that can get fully absorbed by your healthy, vibrant body. But if you want to preserve your youthfulness, if you live in hot climate, if you do a lot of physical labor, in general, you need to rehydrate, and there are so many misconceptions, and there is so much harm that is done by water. Of course, I'm not talking about those who eat refined bread, eat meat, eat a bunch of starches, then drink alcohol on top of that, and then in the morning they think we'll drink this beautiful chamomile tea to get these benefits of chamomile. No, if you dumped a bottle of vodka the night before, your body won't care about those beautiful chamomile molecules or this beautiful suspension of this chamomile tea. It will just harvest the H2O molecules to just repair the remnants of your brain cells and to eliminate all those broken down proteins out of your body that get affected by those substances. So, of course, what I'm talking about now is more fine-tuning. You need to do this water management along with bringing other habits to a decent level which correspond to what nature intended for you, for your body, as much as possible, given that we all live in a framework civilization, majority of us. And the best option for drinking water nowadays is either water produced by reverse osmosis or by distillation. Whatever comes out of your faucet contains inorganic minerals that contribute into calcifying your body, producing kidney stones, producing gallbladder stones, producing atherosclerosis, clumps, because if you get inorganic calcium in abundance, it cannot get effectively eliminated much. Plus, if you get a lot of inorganic minerals, your body will, to break them down, will need to produce a lot of acid. Then to balance your acidity, it will need to desorb some organic calcium that constitutes your tissues. So there will be some healthy essential calcium desorbing from the bones, which also happens when you eat meat or dairy, all these inedible substances. Distilled water or reverse osmosis water is the water that has affinity with the water that's contained in our cells. This water is a universal solvent. So this water can be supplied to the cells, and this water can also take and carry away the metabolites of the cellular activity. So if we talk, let's bring up this curse word, because in health world and especially in legacy health articles, detoxification, toxins have become derogatory term, right? Because it was so overused for many reasons. However, toxins are no more than waste products of metabolism. So something that you either supply to your body that does not belong there, so elimination system works hard to remove it, or you supply something to the body, your cell produces something useful, and then it rejects something not useful, also carries away with your lymph and to the bloodstream, and gets eliminated by your kidneys, colon, or sweat through the skin. So those are all toxins. And if elimination system works fine, person is considered to detoxify well, naturally and beautifully. If person's elimination system is backed up, if it doesn't work properly, if there are some problems with hormones, and most importantly, this phenomenon is determined by the poor lifestyle, which has a lot of, again, foreign substances incoming into the body, and very immobile lifestyle. So not all elimination systems can work properly, which loads the reserves of your body. All of those things. So water must be an efficient solvent. Distilled water or versus osmosis water are the best choices. They're the best choices for another reason as well, because here you can see the household filter, but even this household filter does not filter out some unknown substances that you might be unaware of, which can include pesticides, herbicides, and as well pharmaceuticals, because there is pharmaceutical abuse now in the world. It's very unfortunate that people outsource not only their minds but their bodies as well. Responsibility for their only property on earth is in the hands of somebody else, and when this happens, people just mindlessly consume pharmaceuticals, and it's been a problem of the 21st century that even the cleanest fresh water supplies are horrendously polluted with antibiotics, which is a huge contributing factor in bacteria resistance problem, because whatever comes out of the faucet is likely infested with antibiotics, because they can pass the body and some of them get eliminated without being broken down. Same applies to synthetic hormones, because woman's body, by oral admission of hormonal contraceptives, it takes only a small fraction of synthetic estrogen, synthetic progesterone analogs, and those just pass and get eliminated with the urine. So this all those waste liquids, they leach all of this into the ground springs, and this all gets beautifully distributed in all fresh water sources where people typically get their faucet water from. So even filtration systems cannot take it down. Actually, if you look at the stats of hormone-dependent cancers in women and super declining testosterone in men, water might be some substance that is commonly used by both genders. Maybe there's something to look into. But also, of course, you need to look into dairy consumption and other crap that people eat nowadays. So regardless, distillation versus osmosis are methods that can produce water free of those substances, which is pretty important. I feel like if you are pursuing a healthy lifestyle as close to nature as possible. Another aspect of that is that if you look at where the most long-lived people lived, they usually lived in proximity of the water sources that have something in common. They have high concentration of organic minerals dissolved in it, which we cannot get. We don't have natural water supplies anymore. And natural water supplies have huge pollution, chemical pollution, which makes it not suitable for drinking as is. Then these waters contain low amounts of inorganic minerals dissolved in it. And another thing is that this water was rich in hydrogen. And water rich in hydrogen acts as natural antioxidant. And if you test the water that comes out of the faucet, it is free radical. And today we'll do some fun lab work. But first, let me show you my distillation system. So I started distilling water recently because again I was not happy with the quality of water. Information started coming to me about it basically, so that's what inspired my decision to switch to distilled water. And now this is the distiller body after about 8 distillation cycles. So this is what I've harvested so far from the faucet water. There is some rust, there is some calcium, so if you try to touch those precipitates, they feel like they're super stuck to the bottom. And of course I will be doing some chemical cleaning soon with citric acid. But this is what precipitated when I distilled 8 times. I distilled 4 liters, so 1 gallon of faucet water. And of course, for clear comparison, because I never drank faucet water, it smells gross to me, I usually used pitcher filters. I will do some experiment of distilling the pitcher water in it, and to see how the precipitates differ. If I still had access to the lab where I could do some water analysis, some analysis of these precipitates, I would throw some glass slide to collect the sediment on it and to do some spectroscopy to identify what are the compounds present in my water besides calcium, because apparently there is some iron oxide because there is rust in it. So these are the things that I observed, so I switched to drinking distilled water. It's really pure and it's tasty. Distiller in general, I got it from Mega Home, and why I got that distiller, it's about $100 more expensive than other models. I also have one made in plastic, and I would discourage you to buy from buying plastic distillers, because water that comes out of distillation, it's depleted from iron, so it's not buffered. It's essentially very greedy substance for whatever can leach into that. And I found out that my plastic distiller that I got from H2O Labs, the whole inside, the whole interior is made of plastic, and even the parts that come in contact with hot water, near the heating element, they are also composed of ABS plastic, which I found out is not resistant to heat, and it melts. It starts getting malleable at temperatures way below water boiling point. And even though the supplier, the manufacturer, claims that all of their plastics are BPA free and food grade, the fact that this plastic is used in proximity of heating element might tell me that there are some flame retardants added, which make this plastic more resilient to heat. And this sketched me out, and even though I'm using the activated charcoal filters here, actually my fingers are in band-aid because I got steam burnt recently from the distiller, because I thought that I'm very heat resistant, and there is a warning on the lid that says that wait 20 minutes because you can get steam burned. But I thought that I'm always heat resistant, so I can do this. So I got super blisters on my fingers, which actually heal very fast, which is cool. So I use these carbon filters that allow to filter out some volatile organic compounds. But when I opened the vessel that collected the water, I smelled this horrible plastic smell from it. And then I was like, okay, let me try running this distiller again. So I did it again, and I'm again getting this horrible smell. So I decided to use that distiller only for household use, because you can use distillers also to produce water for watering your plants, for your iron, for air humidifier. All of these things you can use your distiller for, so that one will become my household item. Whereas Mega Home one is superior, and why I paid more for it is because it has no plastic coming in contact with my water. And here is the nozzle here. So water that passes through the nozzle here. So in the lid there is this orifice, the outlet, where condensed water goes, and then inside there is a fan that cools the water that passes through the stainless steel pipe. And then there's this pipe's outlet here. So water comes out of this nozzle. So you click this here, and water comes out like this in this little pot that's made of glass as well. So you put carbon filter here, and the nozzle here is lined with porcelain. So there is an insert that prevents any contact between water and plastic. Plus, additionally, carbon filter can absorb whatever evaporates along with water, which also increases the purity of water. Of course, this adds some activated charcoal to the water, which additionally buffers and pacifies the water, so it's less aggressively getting some ions incoming from the ambient air. And also, I read that activated charcoal can contain about like 1% of fullerene, right? I don't know how to pronounce them. So C60, those little balls that in the body actually act as antioxidants as well. Of course, it's probably not very well-studied field, but let it be. People ate activated charcoal for centuries. So this is the pure water that comes out of the distiller. 1 gallon. It probably lasts me 1.5 days because I use it sometimes for slightly rinsing my leaves, vegetables, fruits, but mostly I just drink it. So important thing to discuss here, and we will open the second half of this video, is the antioxidant properties of water that I mentioned when I talked about the longevity and how it's related to water. So now let's do some fun lab work in a moment. So now we are in my little lab, and yesterday I already calibrated the oxidation reduction potential meter here, which helps me to establish the ORP, which is related to hydrogen content in the water, and whether my water acts as antioxidant, so it can supply electrons to the cells, or a free radical, which strips electrons from the water. So this is a ORP meter. It has some electrodes on the bottom. This one is probably the sloppier one. You can use much better industrial grade ones. The calibration of it is essential. There is a solution that's precisely 256 millivolts of ORP. And here have a little dial. Focus here. It has little dials on the sides of the battery compartment, which you can adjust to read 256 millivolts properly. So when you submerge this thing in a calibration solution, it should read 256 millivolts. If it doesn't, you just adjust the screws until it does. And that's how calibration works. So I calibrated it yesterday to 256 millivolts, and I decided to test several types of water that I have in my possession, that I have in my basically access. So today we'll repeat this experiment, and here I have some log sheet of that. Yesterday I tested faucet water, ORP, filtered water, just as it comes out of the filter. And then what I did, I have this water hydrogenation system. So this is a portable bottle from Ion Bottles that does basically electrolysis of the water, and then it contains double proton membrane that can separate hydrogen and oxygen. So hydrogen goes into the water and infuses it with molecular hydrogen that gets trapped in the water matrix. And this can lower the ORP of the water, making it antioxidant. Actually, hydrogen is the smallest possible antioxidant that actually, because of its size, is capable of penetrating the brain. And in Japan, of course, if you are not into such stuff, in Japan, you will consider it as bullshit, but in Japan, it's one of the methods of treating brain cancers, as well as it also can treat brain degenerative processes and deterioration of mental function. And as well, if you're filthy rich, you can get hydrogenation systems for your bathtub and just put this pump into your bathtub, and infuse your water with hydrogen and bathe in it. Because again, hydrogen is an antioxidant and has very high penetrability compared to all other available antioxidants that we can get from food. So today in our lab work, we will do the following. I prepared faucet water. I already poured it. I hope you trust that this is a faucet water. Then I prepared a clean glass to pour distilled water, and then we'll do filtered water for ORP, and then I will show you what happens when you use this hydrogenation bottle. And so let's get us started, and then I will show you what I got yesterday for the data that I collected, because I didn't want to trust this bottle as is, because I think the supplier did not provide the specs for the hydrogenation efficiency per cycle. So let's get us started. This is again faucet water, and we turn this tool on, so it has some arbitrary values, and now it is in millivolts, so it's reading the ORP. Now we'll submerge it in water, and we will observe that the ORP of the faucet water is somewhere around 170, I assume. My bet will be that it will go up to 180 total when it stabilizes. The outcome here is that the ORP, when it's positive, indicates that the water is a free radical. So if it's 180 millivolts, this is a bad sign, right? So our water contains something that makes it greedy for electrons. So when it passes through our system, it strips electrons from the cells or from the compounds that are suspended in the cells. So it probably will go up to 190. I don't know if we should wait for it to stabilize. Now we'll rinse the electrode with distilled water real quick. Oops, it's sloppy because this is heavy. And now we will do the experiment. I will set it aside. We'll use it now for dumping the water from that glass. Now we will do the ORP measurement. I'm not doing any editing, so that you see that I'm using the correct water, correct tools. Nothing is weird here. So poured some distilled water in. Now let's see what the readings will be. I didn't test the distilled water yesterday, so it's pretty much the same. It's growing even faster here. Probably will be around 200 as well. Maybe over 200 even with this dynamic. Yeah, so I'm assuming that it will be about 220 millivolts in plus as well. So we don't want to drink this water, guys. I'm pouring this water out now. The glass is empty. The last thing that was there was distilled water, so I don't need to rinse this. Now we'll be testing pure water. Let's see. What is it reading? Already 214. So the lowest ORP that we've measured so far was in the clean faucet water. So as water as we pour from the faucet. And distilled water and filtered water have higher ORP. So which indicates, of course, that we're stripping off something from water with both filtration and distillation that buffer water's electronic properties, making it more stable and making water more greedy for electrons in the body. It's so far at 231 millivolts, 32 already. So I'm pouring this water out, and now we will do this for the following tests. I won't test the faucet water, I will test filtered water for what happens when we use hydrogenation system. Let's start out with distilled water actually. Or no, let's start with filtered. So I'm pouring this much of water, which I'm not sure how. It depends on the level of water here, whether the efficiency can change to some degree or not. So you see the system down there on the bottom. You press the button and it takes 3 minutes for it to bubble hydrogen through. It's arbitrary. I don't know how many ppm they supply per cycle. The cycle is typically 3 minutes. Yesterday I tested both the distilled and filtered water for a different number of cycles. Here you can see my curve. I already dripped some water on it. And these are the curves that I got. It was easier to trap hydrogen inside the filtered water, which I assumed would be true because it contains already some mineral matrix in it, so it would be it would favor trapping hydrogen in the water structure. However, distilled water took a little bit longer to saturate it with hydrogen, and actually for those who are into hydrogenation, some people suggest that you put just a grain of salt inside of distilled water before you do hydrogenation, because this would make it more efficient. And here's, again, sorry for this drop, here's what I got. Crosses correspond to distilled and circles to filtered. You can see that at about 4 hydrogenation cycles they merge together in my previous experience. But today we'll just carry out the qualitative experiment. We'll just see that indeed after infusing our water with hydrogen, our ORP flips, again due to presence of hydrogen, to negative. So our water starts becoming antioxidant. So it takes 3 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, here. We're still waiting. And here, what should I say? You can have a lot of fun with this tool, actually, with ORP meter, measuring different substances, but here the clarity needs to be broad, because you can measure any juices, water that you get after you make porridge, I don't know, whatever. After you can use any infused water with different substances and it will show different ORP, because you'll have different compounds supplying electrons to it. So this we need to know due to which process enables these water properties. That's why this experiment is valid, because I know that I'm supplying hydrogen into my water. I know why ORP changes here. And again, there will be you might carry out some experiments getting some broth tested, which will have different ORP as well. So this tool is, you charge it. I will tell a couple of words about this tool. I got it from ion bottles, so the cycle has finished. We'll pour this water now into the glass. And let's test it now. What do we read? Minus 350. So the healthy ORP of water will be minus 400. So we're getting pretty close to it. I don't know why my yesterday's experiment was not like that, because it took me, although with filtered water, yeah, after 2 cycles I was able to get to 400. So here we are at minus 360, which is, yeah, 100 millivolts lower, but on absolute scale it will be 100 millivolts higher than my yesterday's reading after 1 cycle. So remember this number, minus 360, that's what we got from filtered water. Now we get the glass and we will fill it with now we will do hydrogenation of the distilled water. carbonated water in general, if you've never tried that and if you want to do this experiment on yourself, there are no harms, no side effects of drinking hydrogen water. And there are, though, huge benefits in doing so. So hydrogen is not only an antioxidant, it also changes the viscosity of water, the surface tension of water, and by drinking it, you will be able to better, first of all, liquefy your blood. So it's blood thinner, it's natural blood thinner. And if you suffer from problems with having high pressure, actually I heard that hydrogen water can be a lifesaver if a person is experiencing a pre-stroke condition or pre-heart attack condition. When you are under high physical stress, when you're doing a lot of physical labor, when you do a lot of physical activities, this is also a very cool thing for you.
It increases the stamina. I noticed the increase in my productivity, mental clarity, and in overall level of energy. So
I'm very well rested. Typically I have regeneration of skin. In particular, now I'm building a lot of furniture, I'm doing a lot of things related to moving, working with a bunch of tools, doing a lot in the kitchen. All those things make me traumatized on a regular basis, and I noticed that hydrogen water, along with, of course, raw diet, really enhanced the regeneration speed. The bruises, the cuts, the even burns. For my burns, actually, I treated them, I soaked them in hydrogen water for like probably half an hour. The recovery was very quick. By the end of the day, I didn't have any pain. The next day I got the burns pretty confined, so I just started developing some blisters. Day 3 they started healing very rapidly, so now I'm only covering them with band-aids, not to scare you, because there is some weird repairing tissue right now going on. So all those things are pretty pleasant, and of course there are some effects that will be more prominent with time, and I would be really interested in analyzing them. So now our hydrogenation is finished. Pouring this water into the glass, and we will test it. So distilled water after one cycle of hydrogenation reads this. So it's quite a bit lower than, not quite a bit, it's 60 millivolts lower, absolute lower, I mean, than what we saw with filtered water, which again is attributed to the properties of distilled water. And I'm curious actually to try adding salt to it and seeing, or even a drop of lemon juice, just to see how addition of impurities can offset this the speed of hydrogen saturation. Typically what you see is around minus 400 something millivolts. That's where saturation point can be found for hydrogen infusion, and here's what my graph here suggests as well. So you can see I plotted minus RP in millivolts. So these are negative values corresponding to the antioxidant, and you can see that they get saturated at around 480 millivolts, minus 480 millivolts with this tool. So here are the key findings, and I would really encourage you to do your homework on reading about water distillation, purification, and to maybe debunk to yourself some myths associated with minerals contained in water, and research the alternative paths of mineral intake, because your water likely does not supply you organic silica, organic calcium, iodine, selenium, all those minerals and magnesium, of course, that you need. So you need to research what foods you would need to include in order to get those minerals in a digestible form through your diet. And again, even the popular websites will tell you that most minerals get to your body with food, not with water. And with this in mind, try finding the suitable options for yourself. Again, a lot of minerals can be found in seaweed, and I can talk about it in the next video. Maybe we will cook something fun with the seaweed. Irish moss or sea moss for minerals, for getting your daily minerals. Seeds, of course. Pumpkin seed, they're a great source of magnesium. If you look at the tables, they're one of the record-breaking foods for magnesium content, and magnesium is what's essential for calcium absorption into the bones, and basically where calcium belongs in the body, unlike what we see with consumption of inorganic calcium, where it precipitates where it definitely does not belong. Another important thing to control is vitamin K, K1, K2, if you're worried about calcium, because vitamin K2 helps to transfer calcium into the bone matrix, and of course silica, consumption of silica. And organic silica is one of the tricky things to get from food, especially now because the soil is kind of depleted in it. So you need to look for foods that would do that if you're interested in mineralizing and enhancing your bone density. And of course, it's not about dairy, it's not about animal food consumption. Dairy has nothing to do with calcium, especially pasteurized dairy, as I mentioned in the beginning. When you thermally process the foods, anything, when you make soups out of any suspensions or solutions containing minerals, they just precipitate, they make sediment. So whatever dairy you can find in the store, especially yogurts, is like huge Greek mythology character that does not have any health benefits, bacteria, or digestible protein. In fact, it has antigen, just casein, which our body does not digest really well. And calcium, upon pasteurization, just falls down and loses its organic form. Of course, calves, when they suck on a cow's tit, they get it in a good form that is digestible, that can be metabolized, that can make any use in the body. However, what we get with those foods, with those dietary staples that are believed to supply your body with calcium, this is just nonsense. So you should do your research on that. Yeah, with that, I personally would encourage you, again, primarily to do your research to determine what type of water filtration, purification, what type of water fits your needs the best. I would recommend going with distillation. And here's the tip for those who are afraid, who would want to do distillation but are afraid that it would bump up their electricity bill. First of all, treat it as an investment, of course, as anything, any expense that goes into your healthy lifestyle is an investment. You're getting your freedom, you're getting your independence with that money. And another aspect is that if you boil water, if you bring it to boiling point on the stove, before you put it in the distiller, it will greatly speed up your distillation rate. So you won't use as much electricity to first heat up your water, then to supply enough heat to bring this. It will be this isothermic reaction, right? To bring water to boiling, to start this phase transition. So you will just eliminate this whole bunch of electrical work necessary to supply enough heat to the system to initiate the evaporation. So you can just heat it on the stove. It will be more efficient, more energy efficient, and you will save on distillation time. And you will get nice amount of distilled water. Of course, if you are with family, probably it would make sense to install a reverse osmosis system as well. Of course, another important thing, we only talked about the dietary water sources. However, there are filtering systems that you can install instead of your ordinary shower head. If you take shower, I don't know if they have analogous systems for the bathtubs. You can install those that filter out the volatile compounds and salts that make water hard, that can affect your hair quality, and as well supply you with chlorine, which is a carcinogen and irritant for for the respiratory system, so you can look into those as well. So if you invest in distillation system, you will need to restock activated charcoal pouches, which are completely affordable and fine to find. Plus, you can also consider skipping them. Some people don't use those, but if you want superior purity of your water, of course I would consider using activated charcoal filters. And the recurring expense with distillation, of course, will be boiling water, so it's electricity bill. With osmosis system, I'm not entirely sure how maintenance on those works, and I didn't do economic analysis on the osmosis system repairs. However, it can be done. You can calculate for your needs, and again, if you need larger supply of water than distillation can offer you, you can evaluate that as well. So another thing, of course, the drawback of distillation, if you're a very sensitive person and you're very sensitive to noise, a lot of things in general associated with raw diets, Hydrogenator, Distiller, are a little bit noisy. So you get some fan going on and it produces this background noise, which is not obnoxious at all. It is pretty quiet noise. However, there is constantly some going on the background. I also use air purifier because it's a new apartment and I got a ton of paint which was off gassing like crazy. I felt like when I went outside, I felt like this smell of those synthetics that come out of the floor, because it's synthetic floor, synthetic paint. It even stuck to my hair. I felt it to such extent, so I really urgently invested in an air purifier to remove all those contaminants. And I have some going on all day in the apartment, but it's totally fine, especially if you have open windows or you have AC running on the background. So these are the only drawbacks. But with all that in mind, you should remember that it's all your body. And again, I would reiterate that body and mind are two things that you own by birth, that you have freedom over. And unfortunately, what happens now is that people choose to outsource the responsibility for both body and mind elsewhere. And it shouldn't be this way, because we're all born with inherent, I would say, even genetic memory. We have intuition because we've been around for so long. And we know the ways. All other species on Earth, they know how to live their life. They know what to eat, what to drink, how to live their life in the framework of nature. Humans also know that. If they tune down, if they reduce the volume of the external noise, informational bullshit that's falling on our heads all the time, that's being poured in our ears, and to achieve the true freedom, you need to know your roots. And your roots are natural laws that you need to know and absorb and appreciate and follow. That's how you can realize your full potential that's given to you. So all of these little steps that bring you a step closer to the natural lifestyle, which are the keys to longevity, which are the keys to functional, creative, and fulfilling, happy life, they're priceless. And getting them for money is a blessing. So treat it this way. This is my suggestion. And of course, do your own research, because the gems of the information need to be dug out. They're not on the surface. If you really want to live happy, healthy, long life, functional, creative, fulfilling life. Thank you for watching. Give me please a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit notifications button. I would be very happy to hear your thoughts, read your comments, and critiques if you have any, suggestions for the new topics, and just your own experiences. Thank you very much, and bye.